Beyond the Bell. Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Scarlet Fu. We're counting you down to the closing bell. You're here to help take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast with our friends Carol Massar and Tim Stenevik, who've decided to take the day off and instead have handed over the duties to Molly Smith and Jess Menton. How you guys doing?
We're having a blast over here. We do miss both of them, but we're still having a good time. But taking a look at, we only have, about 2 minutes left before this closing bell, but the S&P 500 is trading right now, still below those summer lows here. So it's going to be interesting how things shape up ahead of that CPI report tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and of course we got, the Fed minutes today to lead us into that that next CPI report a bit. So looks, still to be that same higher for longer narrative. We've heard it before. You'll hear it again. So not a whole lot of news coming out of the minutes today, but we've got a few more Fed speakers coming up too. So I'm sure they'll have more to weigh in on.
Yeah, the PPI report that we got this morning certainly backed up that higher for longer idea. Now everyone turns their attention to CPI and whether we actually get those numbers down to some meaningful disinflation that will continue.
Yeah, and the CPI report, we'll see what that delivers here. Of course, also earnings season is basically, I might as well just call it underway. Of course, we get Walgreens and Delta, I think, tomorrow morning, and a couple of the big banks on Friday as we head into the following weekend. I think this is going to be one of those critical earnings seasons where people really want to see how these companies have held up to that inflationary pressure, whether they've been able to pass that cost on to the consumers the way they did in the first and second quarter. That appears to be waning already. The question is, how much is that going to weigh on margins? All right, we're getting the closing bells here in New York here on this Wednesday afternoon here, and it looks like a relatively good day. I think some investors will take it. A fourth straight day of gains for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is up about 0.2% here on the day as we wait for these numbers to settle. A similar story for the S&P 500, up almost 20 points or 0.4%, and the Nasdaq Composite higher by almost 100 points or 0.7%. 4 straight days of gains there for 3 of those major indices. Meanwhile, let's turn to the Russell 2000. That was your relative lag on the day. Remember, the Russell 2000 had put together 5 straight days of gains. There won't be a 6, down 0.1% here on the day. As you hear the clapping and the bells there, you see the CEO of Vivid Seats ringing the bell there at the NASDAQ. Actually going to be speaking to him, guys, in just a minute here on the close.
Looking at the daily advancers, about 60% of the stocks in the S&P 500 higher are about 296, and then 206 decliners there are about 41%, Scarlet.
Yeah, let's take a look at the best performing sectors and laggards as well. You've got real estate investment trusts and utilities, very interest rate sensitive groups taking the lead here, up by at least 1.7%. Chip makers also gaining by 1.4%. On the flip side, take a look at the big decliners here. Healthcare equipment and services index. I'll just say that's the Ozempic effect taking effect here in that sector. And energy stocks lower by 1.3% as oil prices continue to fall. Household and personal products, another defensive group, also losing 1%.
Well, speaking of what's happening with some of those healthcare stocks, Scarlett, looking at Eli Lilly, ticker symbol LLY, that stock up about 4.5%, so its best day since August 8th earlier this year. So this did come after Danish drug maker Novo Nordisk did say late Tuesday that it was halting Ozempic's kidney disease treatment trial after a committee said that analysis showed signs of success. So even though that did hit shares of some of the world's biggest kidney dialysis providers, you are seeing some of these healthcare stocks like Eli Lilly rising. Also another one rising too, and also closing higher today is Amgen, ticker symbol AMGN, that's up about 4.6%. So best day also since August 4th. So looking at that biopharma stock, it was upgraded by Leerink to outperform there. So that's another one gaining. And then, of course, Plug Power. We're actually going to have the CEO, Andy Marsh, who's going to be joining us later on in the next hour with Molly and myself to discuss the company's green hydrogen ecosystem strategy. But when you're looking at that stock, up about 5.3%. So on pace, it was actually closed at its best day since October 10th. But the company is forecasting a rise in revenue to roughly $6 billion, Molly.
And over in the decliner space today, in some not as clean energy, looking at Exxon buying Pioneer Energy for $60 billion in an all-stock deal. Exxon shelling out $253 a share for this. It's going to make Exxon the biggest player in the Permian Basin. So shares down about 3.8% to end the day on that mega M&A deal. Going to Birkenstock next, IPO day for them. This was the big debut that a lot of people were looking toward, especially because we've had some mixed performance and some bigger IPOs lately. A lot of people really looking to this one to see if it can set the tone for some other companies that might be waiting in the wings to go public. Unfortunately, not such a great day for Birkenstock, falling, let's see, about 12.4% to start the day. Not the best debut for the sandal company there. And taking it over to the Ozempic effect, as we've been talking about, on some of these kidney dialysis makers. So Ozempic was found to be pretty effective in a kidney failure study. So all of these dialysis makers like DaVita, that's the one I'm looking at today, were not doing so well in reaction to this. So DaVita closing the day, that one was down over almost 17%, Romaine.
All right, let's get a quick check of the yield market here on the day. It was an interesting day in Treasuries. We continue to see a bid come in to Treasuries. That's partly, I guess, on haven demand, if you will. That actually pushed yields down lower pretty much across the curve, with the outlier being the 2-year yield, which did tick up higher by about 1 to 2 basis points. We should also point out, though, a lot of the price action really did shift around 1 p.m. here in New York when we had that latest 10-year note auction, which tailed once again here. So we're continuing to see weak demand, particularly for some of those longer dated sales that the Treasury is doing. A ratification, I think, of the idea that investors are indeed demanding a bit more yield to step up to the plate here. And of course, that's going to be a big focus as we head into another big data point tomorrow with CPI. And of course, as everyone looks ahead to the big Fed meeting at the end of this month. But before we get there, guys, I just have to go back a little bit. I want to talk about Birkenstock because I mean, this was a bit, I mean, you laugh. I mean, Scarlett's, I found out this yesterday. She's a big fangirl of Birkenstock. She has like 18 pairs of Birkenstocks.
Oh, wow.
Including
Really?
Minus 10. Okay, I might exaggerate a little bit, but she loves them. And look, I don't think anyone doubts the power of this brand and its name recognition. But this was like one of the biggest flops in terms of the actual trading flop, meaning on the first day of trading that we've seen in a couple of years. And it really makes the question here whether this was specific to Birkenstock or maybe a broader concern here about some of these IPOs coming to market.
Or maybe just bad timing. You have a lot of question marks over the health of the consumer going forward. Yes, Birkenstock has done really well in its financials, but it's counting on being able to build on that momentum at a time when the consumer is getting more and more stretched and the bite of inflation is affecting spending patterns.
Yeah, Bailey Lipschultz on our U.S. equities team, one of our star reporters, pointing out how when it came to this IPO, pricing at the midpoint of that particular range, whereas a lot of the other gangbuster IPOs recently were at the higher end. So really, what does that tell you? And to your point, Romaine, whether this is more exclusively toward this particular company or if this is a sign more broadly about what potentially could be to come here.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, we had mentioned this was not a great day for the investors here in Birkenstock, but was a very good day for the brothers who are of the family business. So a nice $3.5 billion, I think that was it, probably payout for them today. So Romaine, pretty good if you were a Birkenstock brother today.
Yeah, I mean, they did well, and they're walking away with their, $3 billion. I don't know how they split that up. Did they do it 50-50, or are they like regular siblings?
That's a great
and they're just
question.
going to squabble over it for the next, 5 years. In all seriousness, though, we talk about the market opening up, meaning, and because this isn't just about IPOs in general, this is also about a lot of those private equity and private capital companies needing an exit plan. And if there is an on-ramp there for them, or off-ramp, if you will, I guess, to come to the public markets, I mean, because let's face it, this was actually a successful IPO, meaning what they sold to their investors here and what they got. Now, the secondary trading, of course, was awful. So there's a sense here that you can still price something and price it aggressively. And I guess, like I said, if you get your money, I mean, what does it matter if it flopped, 10% on the first day?
At this point, right? Because everyone else who needed to get paid did get paid. That's a good point. I go
Are
back.
all your Birkenstocks the same color, Scarlett?
No, they're all. I have a lot of metallic Birkenstocks.
Metallic?
Yeah.
Cool.
I have silver
You're
ones.
fancy.
I have like a bronze one, a pewter one.
A pewter or pewter?
Yeah, pewter.
Oh, pewter.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sneakers. I have a lot of sneakers.
I just wanted to point out, I know we're looking ahead to CPI for tomorrow morning, but I wanted to point out again, tomorrow's actually the anniversary of the one-year low for the S&P 500 bottom. So in that span, it's up about 22%. So that's something else I'm keeping my eye on.
Why do you brought this up before?
Yes, I brought it up last
And it sounds
week.
ominous every time you bring it up.
It's not. It shouldn't be ominous. I'm just
Okay.
saying, hey, it's been 1 year.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know if you wanted to make a call.
Oh boy,
Don't
I'm
make
not
a
going to
call.
make a call on the stock market here, but I'm just probably thinking about, like we'd said, there are a lot of other companies that are looking to how this IPO did and if they're going to come out next. I mean, I think a lot of us probably like those leggings, Vuori, from the athletic wear maker. What are they going to do next? We've got Game Change Solar maybe waiting in the wings. So who knows? They might be a little nervous to test the waters after this one.
Yeah, I like those Vuoris. They're really comfortable.
Real nice.
Yeah, they're soft. Yeah. All right, that does it for our cross-platform coverage of the market close on Bloomberg Television, Radio, and YouTube. And a reminder that Bloomberg Business Week is now on Bloomberg Originals. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time, same place.